What is really involved when it comes to writing content for your business website? What is necessary in order to have a post on your website that actually serves the needs of customers and ultimately generates leads and sales? I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips. Too often clients do not understand what actually goes into writing content. They think you can just write an article, throw it up on a website, get some traffic. Now, there are cases where you have the perfect keywords, the perfect interest, the perfect audience match, and a piece of content picks up and does great. But there's other times a lot of effort and time goes into writing an article and nothing happens. And the real truth of the matter is, and the real truth about content marketing is that there are millions of articles of content going on the internet every single day. They're going in the English language, Spanish language. They're going from all different directions. And if you're going to go out and spend $20 or maybe even $250 on an article that's 400 to 800 words, and just because they say it's search engine optimized, it doesn't mean you're going to get a lick of traffic. So let's talk about what is absolutely required and what is really nice to have when it comes to putting together content. Now, I'm going to speak about this in the context of WordPress posts. That's because my team manages WordPress. WordPress is a very popular platform, and WordPress gives you at your fingertips all the metadata, all the article information, all the details that are necessary to really publish content quickly. Now, again, I don't really care what you could be using movable type, you could be using something else. But in the context of a post, it's a 400 to 800 word article, could be 1,200 to 2,500 words, but it is a piece of content that is a destination for a prospect who has questions and wants specific information. Now, this content could be serving the customer, such as a news article, or could be content that has to do with the services that you deliver. It could be providing instructions. It could be doing a lot of things. But the search engines kind of expect about 400 words at a minimum. But it's not just the words that the customer sees that makes a great article. It's going to be a headline. It's going to be the opening sentence. It's going to be the opening paragraph. It's going to be engaging subheadings. It's going to be a strong call to action at the end of the article. That's just to get started. And by the way, those are required on every article you produce. What also is necessary is clear article metadata. That's the information that search engines and social media platforms and web spiders and all those other tools use to determine the context of your content so that it can be presented to people who are your possible customers. So that's going to be a strong description and excerpt. So in WordPress, you can have a meta description, depending on the plugins, but a meta description for the article. But you also have the little excerpt that shows when an article is either behind a paywall or an article is in an index or some kind of listing. That's pretty important. These are summaries of the article that telegraph, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about what these are, but it telegraphs what that article's about to see whether or not they want to click on the title. You also have a focus keyword phrase. That's the one keyword that's relevant to this article, in which this article has been tuned on and this article's focused. Now, when we help clients produce a keyword map, we're going to have a seed keyword, we're going to have that keyword expanded, and then we're going to have the specific topic. That keyword phrase, that focus keyword phrase, is what that individual piece of content focuses on. And that's kind of set the tone for the content. Now, there are plugins that'll tell you if that is a good target, if the content is a good match. That's where we start talking about the SEO, the search engine optimization. But you got to be really careful with search engine optimization. And here's where I'm critical about content marketing. It's very easy to get in the business of writing content for search engines rather than writing content for end users. Now, remember, the people that I serve are $1 million plus businesses who are selling high ticket services or high ticket solutions. So it doesn't matter if you get a lot of organic search. You want sales materials that help support this and shorten your selling process, not whether or not search engines like you. But in order for the search tool on your website to work efficiently, you need the article metadata to be accurate. So that focus keyword is going to help the whatever you're using as a search platform so that people can find the content on the website. When I worked for Dominion Enterprises, they had millions of pages of content across a network of websites, and there were ways of searching all across all the websites, usually through a third-party tool. But again, that meta information was baked into the tool so that you could better index the site and find content faster. That was way back a long time ago when search engines were, Alta Vista still existed. Now with Google, now with these other platforms, the focus keyword is going to be very useful. Now there's a lot of people who talk about is metadata dead? There's a whole industry around content marketing. Okay, there's the people who write the content. I write content from the perspective of educating a customer, helping them find information, the librarian side of that, and also the sales and marketing side. But there's a whole world of tools that'll find the keywords for you, that'll format articles. There's even artificial intelligence to help you write the articles. None of that stuff covers the basics of presenting content so that your end user can find it. And if your end user can't find it, then what use is it writing it? But you don't want to fall into the trap of writing so much content that now you're feeding the ad engines and the search engines need of having that fresh new content so that they can show ads. So what's important about this is that you're going to have the metadata and the excerpts. You're going to have the primary keyword and the secondary keywords. Those are developed even before you write the article. Okay, and that's how you build the context of the article, and then you're going to validate that at the end before you post. But that's the required stuff. That's all those elements. The strong promise headline is going to get somebody into the article, even if they only see the headline in passing, meaning it's on your homepage as a little tiny list of recent articles. The opening sentence is going to keep somebody on the article or get their attention. Your opening sentence and opening paragraph, those are both relevant to your descriptions and excerpts because that's what's really hooking the viewer to read more. You're teasing them. You're getting them to get more information. Now, the H2 subheads or the article outline that's built into it, that's for search engines, so there's going to have to be some keyword elements in there. But that's also for the second readership path, because your reader, when they land on a big, giant, long page that scrolls down quite a bit, they may not read the whole article unless they've got a reason to read. So each one of your subheadings is going to get the person right back into the article, similar to when you write a sales letter. And I argue that your posts are sales letters in a sense. They're either going to generate a lead or they're going to generate a sale. Now, again, all this stuff works together. Those are the required elements. You have to have those elements. And most people don't even do some of that. They just slap some content on the website and, the boss said it was okay to put on there, so they put it on there. That's not what you do. But that's not all. And see, a lot of clients get frustrated when I show them all the things they need to do. But again, when my organization is doing this, we could have 3 or 4 people working on one piece of content. They can get it all up there. It feeds the engines right. It does what it needs to do and ultimately works for you. But it's better to have a few high-quality articles that are properly formatted, don't have any HTML problems, they don't have any JavaScript problems, they have the right meta context so that artificial intelligence can understand it, machine learning can understand it, and then you also have to have these nice-to-haves. A featured image. A featured image gives the viewer something visual about that content so that it connects with them. Because, like they say, a picture is 1,000 words. So that's an appropriate picture. Now you also need social media cards. So you need a card for Twitter and you need a card for Facebook. What does a card contain? Well, first off, a card is when someone shares your link, what automatically comes up in the social media platform. And you want control over that. You want to make sure that what comes up in Twitter is an image that looks right. It's not just the first image on the page, but it's an image that looks right. It's a link that looks good. It's a short description that's appropriate for that platform. Same thing with Facebook. And by the way, your article should have 2 or 3 images in them because you're really getting rewarded for that, but that gives you access to the image search platforms. So if somebody's looking for your product, for example, having appropriate images of your product in the context of your article gives you one more way for people to find your site. But again, the social media cards let somebody share a link on a social media platform, and then that link is properly attributed, it's properly referenced, and everything looks the way you want it to look rather than the way the platforms want it to look. What's another thing it's nice to have? Well, it's nice to have inside your own website cross-reference links. Okay, cross-reference links are both going to be internal and they're going to be external. So what does that mean? Well, that means you're going to post a piece of content, but that content is going to point to 2 or 3 other articles related to that content inside your own website. Now, it could be inside the network of websites, but it also could be on the specific site you're on. So if you're writing about a product, you want to link to the product's where you can purchase the product. You might want to link to where the product customer service is, all in the context of the article itself. So the article might be about demonstrating the uses and benefits of the product, and then inside that article, you're going to link to how to get the product. You're going to link to more details about a particular benefit. You might link to accessories. But outside of that article and elsewhere on your website, you're going to link to this new article. So you're going to go back through your content and everywhere. So I just edited an article about recession busting. So if you want to be successful even if you have a recession, you do these 5 things. Well, within those 5 things, I link to related articles. And then within other related articles that mention recession busting, I link to the recession busting article. By the way, every one of those links needs to be human readable and keyword contextual. I know, it hurts some people's feelings. Hurts your head right about now. But again, this is how we're building link structure. And that link structure improves the quality of the site. Now, fortunately, there are tools. They're very expensive, but there are tools that my team uses to make this a little bit easier. So we're not doing this by hand. But again, if you don't have talent doing this stuff, if you don't have people in-house doing this, then you're missing out on the benefit of telegraphing to other platforms the importance, the authority, the expertise, the relevance, the audience, all those things that are necessary for good content. Now, I gave you the required and I gave you the nice to have. You're going to end up with about 3 different unique images, 4 sets of metadata, so this is a little meta descriptions, 3 article headlines, and then your original body copy. So the difference is what a lot of people do is just slap stuff up on their website. They just throw content up there. They don't put a lot of editorial thought into it. They don't even have an editorial calendar, or they haven't researched topics using seed keywords and expanded those out to audience appropriate topics. They just slap it up there. And you can see why you could put a lot of content on your website and nothing happened. But all of this is necessary in addition to having the article edited, in addition to having it formatted, in addition to having it marked up, in addition to having it loaded into your content management system, because they are necessary to tell the computers who could refer content to your site. It's necessary so when someone references a link on your website, it actually shows up contextually well in the search engines. It shows up contextually well inside of social media platforms. It also makes it easier for people who want to reference your content. So let's say somebody else is writing an article and they're going to put some external links in, and your article has all of these elements. It telegraphs authority. They can then, reference your article and in their article, and that builds up that network of links. Now, this is just on your site for the post. Okay, this is just what's necessary to get the post up on your site. Now you got to promote the content. Now, if you've been involved with our editorial process and our collaborative editing systems that we talk about, then you know that you're passing this content between several people. It's not one person doing all this. God forbid it's one person, because they're going to forget a lot of these steps. Now, I mentioned earlier that some things you could do the required stuff and then come back later and clean up. I'll tell you from my own experience, I've got like 500 draft articles on some of my newsletter sites. You're just not going to get back to do it. What usually happens is I'm working with clients and my people are all tied up working with clients. It's billable work, and then we don't do this in-house as well as we should. And we suffer from it, but fortunately we've got paying clients, so it's the shoemaker's kids have no shoes. But ultimately, you're going to have a graphic artist involved. You're going to have several copywriters involved. You're going to have your subject matter expert involved. You're going to have a social media person involved. You're going to have a proofing person or a spell checker. I'm the worst person to be checking my own work. I miss all kinds of problems, but if I have somebody on staff do it, it gets cleaned up just fine. It almost blows my mind that people don't realize these things are necessary, and you will have challenges explaining this to if you're doing article marketing or content marketing work, to explain this to a client, because people really do believe you could just throw content on a website. If you write it, they will come, and they won't come. So let's talk real quick before I wrap up about the promotion of the content. Now, here's the good news. All that metadata can be recycled to be social media posts, to be evergreen content references. So, for example, you can take the excerpts and a headline and add a link and put it in your newsletter. You can summarize your article and use it as an email message in order to promote the article itself. You can take all your headlines, add some take a hook, add your headline, and then add a call to action, and you can make that a social media post. You can have images. So if every time you build an image, you build 2 images. So you do the social card for Facebook, you have 2 Facebook formatted images. Then you can use one on social media and one on the card, and now you've gotten dual use out of things. Now, the great news about knowing this stuff exists is later when you're doing topic testing and you want to refresh content, so maybe you have older content that's not getting traffic anymore, you can actually refresh the metadata, which sends a signal to the search engines that this content is new without going in and cleaning up the rest of the content. So let me give you an example of that. Let's say you have an article that's not working anymore. Rather than rewriting the entire 1,200 word article, you can focus on you can ask yourself the question, does it have a strong headline? Does it have a strong opening sentence? Does it have a strong opening paragraph? Are the subheadings engaging? And then after each subheading, you want to go again with your opening sentence and your opening paragraph for that section, and then you can go through with the calls to action. And that is this template that I've just given you is a fast way to refresh your content that's not performing. Because what tends to happen is you'll put 100 pieces of content on the website. You'll have 2 to 20 articles that are doing great. They're drawing traffic, they're generating leads, they're getting people in your sales funnel, and the rest of the content will flop. After a year, the probability of content still remaining fresh enough to draw people to your website is very rare. 98% of your articles after a year will not get any traffic at all. And instead of going in and haphazardly rewriting this content, instead of going in and deleting that content, you can come in and use this formula that I just shared with you to go in and tune that stuff up. And that tuning is making sure that this piece of content satisfies the basic needs of the search engines, of your prospective customers, of your existing customers, of the purpose in which content is written. Now, my teams will go through and help clients with existing content, going through and doing a site refresh. We do not go through the landing pages that are working. We have to look at metadata. So behind the article being posted there, your metadata has to be clean. And by the way, all these social media posts and all this content linking to the site needs proper attributions. But once all that's in place, we can go and see any content that's older than 365 days with 0 impressions on it. So if in the previous year the content had 0 impressions, those become candidates to clean up. Rather than rewriting the whole article, we go through this template, this checklist, and we tune it up, make sure it has all the right elements. Then we send signals to the search engines. We make sure it shows up in your RSS feeds. We make sure we now have the social media evergreen driving content. We might push it into syndication. Microsoft has a tool that you can tell it a piece of content got updated and it'll re-index the content. We also want to go into the webmaster tools and see which content has not received any type of traffic or which keywords have not received any type of traffic. So that means keeping a library of all your keywords that you're using or querying the WordPress database in order to find which focus keywords and then cross-referencing them with the website. But I just want you to understand it's not just writing copy that works. You can get anybody to write content to put on your website. But if you want content that generates leads and generates sales, it takes a bit more effort. Now, can you systematize this? Yes, you can. I've taught you many times before, especially with the collaborative editing system. You could have somebody whose job is to do the research, and then another team puts together a rough draft, and then you take the keyword research from a third person or a tool or whatever, and then you put that article together, and then ultimately from there you hand it off to somebody who's got to build some images out. You're really building off the specialties, but ultimately, if you don't have a complete package, you will get discounted. Because remember, it's very easy for the software tools to see where your defects are. So a software tool can scan your entire site and find all the misspellings, broken links, content that takes too long to load, meta information that's not relevant to the content itself, headlines that aren't relevant to the content, sometimes where your keyword density is too high. Search engines can scan that stuff every day. They can do it faster than you can. So if you don't do it right the first time, they're going to just discount you in the platform. And what looks like shadow banning very often is just crappy website. I make mistakes and have horrible spelling and problems on my own website, and I can see the problem with it. When we have a few more people involved and it's a client site, it costs more, but the quality makes a massive difference. The search engines pick up the traffic faster, the real life, high quality, high value visitors come to the site, and we can build on an avatar, and then of course we end up with this giant library of images and content and other materials. And sometimes you can simply just resize an image and use it on a different platform. So for example, you can start with a rectangular image that works well on YouTube and LinkedIn and all these other things, and then just resize it to a square, which works good on Twitter, Facebook, and some other platforms. So do you see where I'm coming from here? There are efficiencies you can do, but you have to understand first that it's not just the content. It's not just writing an article. There's a lot of other things that are required to write an article that generates leads and produces sales. If you have any questions about what I've covered here, or you want help with your team in order to have the right people in place, to have the right systems in place in order to actually do the work that's necessary, then visit www.adbriefings.co.uk, go to the contact page, and ask me a question. I'm Justin Hitt, the publisher of Ad Briefings Copywriting Tips, where we help you write copy that sells. And when you do these things, the sales copy on that post is more likely to get in front of highly qualified individuals. It's more likely to be seen by the search engines. It's more likely to be ranked high from quality standards. And ultimately, it's something that is a valid test to measure. So often people slam content up there and they're looking at it more than their prospective buyers are. It's just a shame. Anyway, again, I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefings Copywriting Tips, and this has been about how to just really checklist your posts and make sure they've got the minimum standards. There's more you can do, by the way, but again, I didn't want you to get all discouraged. There's more you can do. But ultimately, if you get these basics done, it's almost magic how well your content will do. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next podcast.